Welcome back to our second, and we're going to call this MPQs because we quite like this. So this is MPQs with Dave Hamlet and
Daniel Kawczynski.
Like, wasn't rehearsed. So look, I think this is the response from the first sitting, should we say, was interesting. There's a lot more to come, as people will see. We've cut some teaser reels, but it's, I think, for me, where we're coming from a position of trying to offer a platform for conversation, which I know you enjoy, good or bad. Probably a little bit of the bad now, the way the landscape is. But today, so sitting two, probably a big topic. We might as well dive into it. Rwanda.
What can I say? I mean, a lot of constituents have come up to me at various. I mean, obviously, a member of parliament has to prioritise things depending on what the constituents say. And there are huge numbers of constituents who are very angry and frustrated that these criminal gangs are operating in the English Channel. I think the main thing to say is that I've been to over 90 countries around the world and on business and as a politician, and yet it's very rare to come across a people as tolerant and welcoming as the British people. I think the British people have a sort of image around the world of being very accommodating to outsiders. And I speak as a foreigner myself. We came to this country in 1978 to escape communism. And when I came here for the first time as a child, the warmth and welcome that I experienced from English children at school was extraordinary, and it's something I'll never forget. But you see, although the British people are extremely tolerant, they do not accept, nor do they wish to permit, criminal gangs operating in the English Channel.
I mean, this is probably the right time. I'm not that informed on this. I'm hoping we can do a bit of ad-libbing while we're here. So, and the details, you know, I like details. So just, have you got some numbers? Do we have any specifics so we can just talk, like, bring home the magnitude of the problem? I mean, you know, how many boats, what was it costing us? For those that don't know, obviously this is an organised trade, for want of a better description, where people will pay large sums of money, £5,000-10,000 to get on a boat to do the 22-mile trip, and there's no refunds, there's no life jackets. It's completely.
But the interesting thing here is that a lot of people, you know, we continue to welcome a lot of people here legally. We've given special opportunities for people to come from Hong Kong because we have a duty and responsibility.
Yeah, but that's the difference here, isn't it? There's we all believe in migration. It's healthy. Look, I'm ex-lorry driver. The farming community needs it. I say I've got a lot of Albanian friends. Most of the car washes wouldn't exist. A good friend of mine owns 6 or 7 of those, and they do an absolutely stellar job. So I believe, and I think we all share the same sentiment, and every normal thinking compass mentis British person is the same, but it's this illegal element to it.
Well,
which is
don't forget, there are a lot of British people leaving the country all the time as well.
Yes, yeah.
Nearly 500,000 Brits now live in the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Dubai, because of such low taxation.
Yep.
So, look, I think most people want immigration to be managed in a way which is sustainable and in the interests of the United Kingdom. We're very fortunate because a lot of people want to live and work here, and we can attract a lot of talent from around the world, and we need it. As British people go overseas, so we need it. But what they won't tolerate is illegal gangs operating and smuggling people, and we've just seen 5 people die this week. So what are we going to do? We're going to we've passed this legislation to make sure, like the Australians have done very successfully, that we welcome you if you come here legally, but if you come here illegally, you're going to be sent somewhere else.
Yep.
To act as a deterrent to
I
stop
think
them coming.
We've seen green shoots of this morning when I was reading one of the larger newspapers with the long words. So there's some stuff right there where the deterrents now push. I mean, it's equally brings its own problems, but it's deferral of an issue because they're looking elsewhere already.
Yes, and already. But one thing I'd like to say is, you know, as I said this on Polish television yesterday when they interviewed me in Westminster, the European Union is to blame for this because they have an ideological determination for free movement of people on our continent. So they've destroyed all the borders.
Yeah.
So if you are an illegal migrant who's entered Bulgaria, there is nothing from Turkey, there is nothing stopping that illegal migrant crossing an entire continent without any checks, without any security, and they end up on the coastline waiting to get into the United Kingdom. In the old days, the illegal migrant would have been stopped, or the lorry carrying him would have been stopped 12 times on the way to Britain, and it would have been inspected. And, you know, the free movement of people is a concept that people say is an inherent right, but with that comes consequences. So we are facilitating, the European Union has facilitated the free movement of narcotics, criminal gangs, and illegal migrants across the whole of the continent.
It's the free movement element. You're not contesting the free movement element. I think probably if you spin this to what it really needs to reflect, it's understanding, being very pragmatic about the world we live in. Free movement's great, but there's a lot of people there that are from a devious perspective or a selfish perspective of self-gain through very distasteful practices of human trafficking, drugs,
modern day slavery,
and those are the bits where, for me, if I'm thinking logically, I'd rather not sacrifice free movement, but regulate free movement for the sake of being able to have a chance of stopping what will happen, and what does happen is what is happening. I think that's probably what this is about.
Well, I mean, think about it. What inconvenience is there now that we've left the European Union?
Or not? That's probably a bad one. Not inconvenient, I guess. So some might say, "Oh, I shouldn't be stopped." If we go to maybe what I would consider a far lefty, don't even talk, I can do what I want. I think it's that spectrum for me.
Well, isn't that extraordinary? But you can, we've left the European Union. Okay, when we go to these countries now, okay, oh my goodness me, you have to queue for 10 minutes.
Agree. Yeah.
And show
I'm busy.
What's the matter with that?
I know.
And actually, I don't think that is too pernicious a system. And I think if it's going to control illegal migration and control criminal gangs and control the flow of narcotics, then I think that's something that ought to be in place.
Agreed. And that's where this comes from. So, Rwanda, do we know much about the stats? I mean, am I putting you on the spot here a bit? Like, what's it stopping? This is a topic. Jamie, is he? He must know some stats. Can we get some stats on Rwanda just to...
Well, I mean, what can I say?
Or the migration, sorry, not Rwanda.
It's not just Rwanda, because don't forget, the Prime Minister has signed a deal with Albania.
Right, okay, I didn't know that.
And it is, the numbers of Albanians coming on the boats has reduced by 85% after the agreement signed between Rishi Sunak and the Prime Minister of Albania.
Wow.
So we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket with Rwanda.
And I think the media would suggest so. And this is quite nice. This is probably helpful then this morning, because I've not, amongst other things, it's not been a huge topic of interest for me. Otherwise, I appreciate the dynamics. But yeah, for me, I've just thought it was Rwanda. I had no idea.
No. There are
so
other.
You've heard it here first.
With other countries, but
an exclusive.
At the end of the day, can I just say, I want immigration not to be in the top 5 issues when we have general elections.
Yeah, and you talked
over the last 5 elections that I've been involved in. Immigration has always been in the top 3 issues that the British people have identified. Now, why are the British people identifying immigration as a problem? They're doing it because they can see the unsustainable numbers coming into the country, which is causing a housing crisis. We simply can't build houses quickly.
And the NHS, I think that's another system. The system of care we've got is also strained anyway. So,
and of course, at the end of the day, what we want to do is send a signal to the criminal gangs: don't try it, because your customers are going to be sent somewhere else. Now, this is what Australia did. I spoke to you about this last.
Well, you fixed the desire for it, because you wouldn't risk paying for it, would you? I might stick my $5,000 in to end up in Rwanda. Probably not.
Well, exactly. And this is what Australia did with a Pacific island called Nauru, and it completely stopped illegal migration to Australia.
It's a deterrent, isn't it?
We have to try, because at the end of the day, can you imagine just saying, okay, well, we're just going to rely on the French. We've paid the French already millions of pounds, and yet they are not policing their coastline effectively.
I've travelled quite a bit. I ski quite a lot. So.
And they are, in fact, shepherding.
Yeah,
you heard the story the other day. The French don't want the problem.
No.
The French are almost shepherding the illegal migrants across the water into the United Kingdom.
But then you think of human beings as a nation. I mean, from what we see on TV, you don't really know everything. But France looks like it's having a pretty torrid time with farmers and loads of other issues. So I guess when you're on the bridge of the problem coming to us as a country, not saying it makes it any better, but so
Bill.
we've got some numbers. We've got some numbers. So what have we got up here? Jamie's put some numbers up. Figure 1, detection at the UK border by method of entry. Jesus, wow. So we'll flash this up, but if we look from 2018, I love this. This has got Q quarters on it as well. So from nothing really of any note from 2018 to 2020, and then it really starts to ramp up. What's that? Hundreds? That's 12. Okay, that's thousands. So we're looking at 5,000 people on this chart. We're looking at.
We've got a problem in the sense that, unlike Australia, which has international water around it, this lane that we're talking about, the English Channel,
It's only 22 miles long, isn't it?
Yes, between Calais and Dover, is one of the world's, if not the busiest
shipping lane
in the
Of
world.
course.
In addition to that, there is no international water because it's so narrow.
It just goes one to the other,
French
doesn't it?
water stops and the English water starts. Somebody said in the House of Commons stupidly, let's push the boats back into French water. That would be technically an invasion of France.
Yeah, I mean,
which is not something that we're prepared to contemplate.
Yeah.
But the French are being so uncooperative.
It's not like them.
The French are being so uncooperative that we've got to take this action as a deterrent to the criminal gangs. I don't think any of your listeners, no matter what their political affiliations, would want to permit these ghastly criminal gangs. And by the way, they're making tens of millions every year from this. And the fact that they are willing to sacrifice human beings in order to make money. The fact that the odd person, falls out and drowns is of no consequence to them.
No,
they're out to make money,
Yep.
and they're prepared to have huge human suffering in order to make money. That is completely unacceptable, and it's a great shame on us that as yet we have not been able to stop them.
Agreed.
This Rwanda thing is just part of the jigsaw in resolving it.
So you mentioned we got Rwanda and Albania. Then talk. Is that the same thing? What's
Well, I mean, Rwanda is the thing that has attracted the most media attention. But we've signed a deal with Italy.
Oh, wow.
We've signed a deal with Italy. We've signed a deal with Spain. We're signing a deal with Morocco, and we're helping the Moroccans to police their waters because a lot of illegal migrants go from Morocco to the Canary Islands, and from the Canary Islands to Spain, and then from Spain to Britain. So we're in negotiations with Morocco, with Spain, with Italy, and we've signed an agreement with Albania, which has seen numbers reduced by 85%. So Rwanda is what is always in the media, but we are signing agreements with a lot of other countries.
Amazing.
To make sure that we stop this flow of people to the United Kingdom. We will, of course, and by the way, which country has given more opportunities for Ukrainians to come? The United Kingdom. I'm very proud that the United Kingdom has allowed over 100,000 Ukrainians to settle in our country. People from Hong Kong, people from Syria, people from Afghanistan. We have here in Nestcliff, I was there the other day, in Nestcliff Army Training Camp. We have people there at the moment from Afghanistan, who were fighting, interpreting fighting with British soldiers. And of course, we want to give these sort of people sanctuary in our country. But if you want to
be done in the right way, isn't it?
Jump the queue, if as a legal migrant, if you want to ignore the legal routes, if you want to attempt to jump the queue in front of everybody else and pay a criminal who then uses the money for narcotics and other nefarious purposes to get into the United Kingdom, then all bets are off. And they're going to have to take the risk that they're going to end up somewhere else. If we don't take this action, it's only going to continue.
It's not going to get any better at all. So top nationalities arriving via small boats from 2021 to 2023. So you've only really got, what's it calling out on here? I can't really see the colours. Is the largest one there? Is that a rack, Jamie?
You're colourblind.
Yeah, I'm colourblind. Yeah, that's
It goes in the same order they're listed on the site.
is it? Yeah, I am actually colourblind.
Yes.
Like Daniel was just mentioning, it's a big one.
Yeah, but look, I mean, the other, I'm probably going to unlock a can of worms here. Is just the fact we're in places of the world helping other entities cause trouble, which that's a rabbit hole we don't want to get down. But look, that's a positive way to end the week. I believe it's the right thing, personally. I do believe we've got a nice picture of you sat still in, I believe, the House of Commons on your own.
We were there until 1 o'clock in the morning because, of course, the fascinating thing is the House of Lords. And by the way, every time we're attempting to do something, we don't live in a dictatorship. We can't just say, right, that's what we're doing, because our constitution is such that many people and other entities have the right to challenge us.
Yep.
Like the House of Lords, which is not elected, but they have tried at every turn to prevent us from doing this.
And why would that be? I mean, we hear of this a lot, but I don't get any logic behind it.
Highly paid barristers, human rights barristers, people in the House of Lords, they all believe that this is unfair, that we are treating these illegal migrants unfairly in sending them to Rwanda, that we need to be more accommodating. I don't buy it. I don't buy it because, as I say, we are very welcoming to people who come to this country.
Yeah, I mean, let's just stop. I mean,
and they're going to be legal even now. Even now that we've passed the legislation, the Prime Minister's had to set up 150 different courts, specially with judges
to manage all this.
Wow. Because there are going to be so many attempts to overturn
the money for this
in each case.
Yeah, of course.
Getting each
you forget that, don't you? All the stuff then to manage the process.
So it's a very complex and difficult process. But then again, you wouldn't want to live in a country where a government, at the drop of a hat, can take your rights away without
Korea doesn't look like a great place to live.
Sorry?
Korea doesn't look like a great place to live. I'm not sure.
Pyongyang, well, it depends which Korea, but go on.
Just any side, that side of the Iraq, Iran, yeah. No, there's other places, we talked about this. So Jimmy Carr launched his new comedy thing. I can't think of the word, foggy this morning. But he talks about the Western world having quite an inability to appreciate the magnitude of the comfort we genuinely live in, which I think is so true.
Well,
and you highlight a topic by dictatorship, do you know what I mean, where someone can literally take away your rights. It exists, that's real.
Oh, they exist. I mean, a lot of countries around the world are dictatorships.
Yeah.
One man makes a decision.
I mean, if I was in charge, it'd be right, I think.
And if
make
you
some good choices.
disagree with them, you may
off. Where's Dave gone?
Taken round the corner and
disagreed with Steve. Didn't have enough there. But anyway,
can I just say one other thing?
Please do.
Which is on my mind. I came across in the Shropshire Star, and I sent you an article about Ofsted reports.
Yes.
Schools.
Fine. Yeah.
And how well Coleham Primary School has done, and others. What is interesting here, for those people who are contemplating how to vote at the next election, is we're very fortunate being a border community, because we've got two completely different countries side by side. Labour runs Wales. We run...
I mean, they've got the speed limit wrong, haven't they?
We run here in Shropshire. Now, what I don't have to listen to politicians. What I'd say to you is Wales actually gets much more money per head than we do.
Right.
And yet their output on education is far worse, as indeed on healthcare services. Okay. So if I was a citizen not aligned to any one party, and I wanted to really myself take the time to analyse how schools are performing in one jurisdiction versus another. Yeah. How are they performing in Wales, just across the border, just a few miles across the border, and how are hospitals are performing? And if you want to do that...
But how do we? So let's get into the thing. It's a good point, because this is what it's about. I think this is a great topic. It's about giving people ways to look into, if you're bothered. If you're not, please stay off of social media. Just don't make the problem worse. I think that's a really good point. But how do people... we need some facts and figures, places we can point them. We'll put some links up on this. But so how do we understand the performance? It's a bit like the Hansard conversation. We don't know if that gem. how do we now understand the education system in each country or the performance on there? Where would be some metrics? Have you got any? What's the good sources to find this stuff?
Well, I will certainly. That's a very good question, and I will certainly attempt to put more information on my website
Fine.
about how schools have been judged by Ofsted.
Yeah,
in
that'd be useful to
Shropshire.
everyone, and we can signpost
And
it.
then we can compare and contrast them across
Perfect.
the border in Wales.
Yep.
But Ofsted is obviously the national body
Yep.
that
Audits and
audits
manages
schools.
standards.
And I think that you can just take schools at random on either side of the border, compare and contrast what their ratings are.
Of course, Ofsted.
And how pupils are finding it in each school. But we are, look at the schools in Shropshire, and they are, over the last 10 years, there has been a massive improvement in Ofsted reports on our Shropshire schools.
So we've got improvement. How do we think the government's involved in that? What would be your... How could we give the people watching this some substance to this, other than, what would it be? Is it the investment that comes from the current party into the system, or the fact that the Labour system in Wales doesn't do it? Because I'm completely in the dark with this one, and Jamie's frantically trying to find some information for us to look to. But without that, in the absence of that, what would be some of the...
Well, actually, I think you pose some very interesting questions, and I will go away as a result of this interview.
Brilliant.
And in preparation for our next interview,
Yeah, and we could dig into it.
I will send you ahead of that.
Yeah, I'll do some... Yeah.
The two bodies that run and adjudicate on schools in Wales and in England.
Fine.
And we will compare.
I'm going to come in an England shirt next time.
And
No, not
also
really.
how much money they both get.
Yeah,
Because
that's the
English
comparison.
schools get much less than the Welsh ones.
Fine, and this is stuff I'm more interested on it, because right now I'm probably in a position where it's very much two-party politics. Most English-speaking countries around the world, anyway. We talk about this most times we meet on and off camera, anyway. And the word's probably a challenging space to be. It's a topic that probably people could be getting tired of. But I think it's from the lack of real, genuine information. Like, I've just played in my head since we've been talking about the Rwanda topic. Why is it Rwanda? Well, of course you would do it. If I was a business, if I could put my business head on, I'd talk about Rwanda because I want the criminals to stop sending me. I want the customers to realise that that's one of the places you could go. Spain, probably not. I'll risk it. I'm in. Do you know what I mean? So from a perspective of the information shared, I guess the government's always leaning into ensuring it supports the real intention of this, which that topic is a deterrent, right? But through it, I think you can, and because I just think social media has not helped the world trust many things, brands, owners. So we're in a very distrusting environment, I believe.
We
through
do.
stats and
We do. And we live in an environment where, unfortunately, people are, obviously, sometimes I think the media plays a huge role in winding people up and making people feel frustrated because they're only interested in bad news.
metrics, yeah.
But actually, one thing I wanted to share with you is the United Kingdom this week has become the 4th largest exporter in the world.
I did see that. Where did I see that?
Now, how a tiny island of
Yeah.
65 million people manages to become the 4th largest exporter in the world, well, we could write a thesis on that.
Yep.
But it's
Everyone else is too busy at war, probably.
it's a huge boost because, you see, selling internally is just money swilling around the
It is.
system.
There's no growth.
Exports is hard currency coming into the United Kingdom.
And it gives you perceived value on the global setting.
And British soft power.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of, and by the way, this week it's just been announced a huge additional investment into our armed forces. You were
Which
talking
I
about the
fully
need
believe.
for more money to be spent on our armed forces, particularly at a time of growing tensions with Russia. So
Especially when it supports, I think some of her thing was the nuclear deterrent we have. Again, I'm going to use the word deterrent because I've been there. I've been to Faz Lane. We used to do some diving on some of the piers when I was in the engineers. But it's in the subs, they're insane. But people talking about getting rid of them, you are nuts.
Wow.
I firmly stand by that. Like that's like me and you being in a pub and me being, it's like your size difference. You're extremely tall and much bigger than me in a very, very...
no, don't get paranoid.
Yeah, yeah. Don't use your presence to overpower me.
But I was very angry and I went to see the Speaker of the House of Commons
Oh, of course.
to make a
I
complaint.
saw this morning. In fact, we're going to put this reel's already up.
Because Angela Rayner and I
Yes.
speak as the tallest
Well done.
MP,
Really
Angela Rayner called our Prime Minister a pint-sized failure at Prime Minister's questions.
Oh,
Now, I could call Madame Rayner all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And believe you me, what's going through my mind about that lady, I could use all sorts of adjectives to describe.
I'm not even sure an
Angela
adjective is.
Rayner. Although I'm not sure it would be appropriate on the radio.
We can bleep it out.
Or a broadcast. but she said she called him a pint-sized failure at Prime Minister's question.
It's not the setting.
Now,
Not
you've got
condoning
a lot
that
of
sort of language.
children, a lot of children watching on television. Children there in the House of Commons. We're trying to encourage them to be civil to one another, to respect one another.
It's hard to watch sometimes, I'd agree. It's a bit, as much as I do love a good heated conversation.
You know, and I'm going to a school later on this afternoon, and I'm going to say to them, I think that part of our democracy, the greatest thing, is that we should celebrate our differences.
Yeah, and you talk about it quite a bit. I think
We should
something-
celebrate our differences, but we should challenge one another in the most respectful
Oh, she called him a
way
pint-sized
imaginable.
loser. This is
Oh,
off-
sorry, yeah, pint-sized loser.
Wow. I mean, a pint's a pretty powerful thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone loves a pint.
But
But she's
if-
trying to say, I mean, you're not a loser if you're getting classed as a pint.
I think
Feisty exchange.
I know him, and I know him well, and I think he is one of the most intelligent prime ministers we've had in my lifetime. No single individual has all the attributes that you want in a prime minister, whether it's glitz, glamour, looks, intellect, energy, enthusiasm. Oh, apart from you, of course.
Cheers, sorry, lads.
Nobody
World
has,
would go to
nobody
absolute
has them
shit,
all.
wouldn't it?
Nobody has them all, but intelligence, I think, is extreme. Intelligence and perseverance is very important. And I think he has it in spades. I think Rishi has it in spades.
See, I think it's an interesting. Having a toe in the water, as we say, through these conversations, some of the stuff we're doing with social media, and I've always found this sector quite interesting. But the stoicism you must have to sit in your jobs. Like, why would you want to do it? I just think, and especially as a businessman, the opportunity. Is this for anyone watching this? We both know for a fact your earning potential outside of sitting in the hot seat you've been in for 19 years is 3-4x. So for anyone watching that you don't know, this is fact. You could do 3x your salary. Now, not set. You obviously, I think the national average wage around here, it was 26 grand about 15 years ago, because I used that as a benchmark. It took me a lot of conversation to find that out, because no British person wants to talk about the wages.
Well, let me just tell you, my secretary, what upsets me more than anything else is when they say, snouts in the trough, you're only in it for yourself, snouts in the trough, and all the rest of it. And the media talk about expenses. Actually, the strange thing is that the expenses are the salaries of the people who work for you. So you have 4 members of staff, 2 in the constituency, 2 in Parliament. Their salaries and their national insurance are all put against your name.
Fine.
So actually, 95% of my expenses are the salaries of the 4 members of staff who work in my office.
Who we've covered on previous sittings, are all aimed at output.
They're all aimed at dealing with constituents' problems.
Yep.
The day-to-day problem. We get thousands of letters and emails every month. I've got a
16,000 last month.
That's right.
Ridiculous.
We've got a problem with child tax credits. We've got a problem with CSA payments. Got a problem with social housing. I've got a problem with my pension. I want you to resolve it. All 4 members of the staff are geared around to help. But you see, interesting thing here is my secretary has worked out that over the last 19 years, I've spent £70,000 of my own money entertaining constituents in the House of Commons, because there's no budget for entertaining.
That's probably a good one to clear. I thought there would have been little bit of food behind the bar.
They think
a beer.
that it all goes. A group of students come in. You put teas and coffees, or you're hosting a group for lunch or dinner. They think, it goes on your expenses. No,
Jesus,
you
I
pay
worked
for
at
it
my
yourself.
monster. We used to go to the
70,000 over the last
your money,
19 years out of my own money. And the thing is, I mean,
But you basically live in London, in Parliament, so you can't. You'd be rich otherwise, wouldn't you? Because you'd have no chance to spend your money.
well, I don't complain because I love my job very much. But
That I can vouch
can
for.
I just say, though, there is one problem here. There are 650 MPs, but there are only 10 of us who have studied business studies at university and worked in private commerce.
Yep.
Now, actually, in reality, you would want more people from the private sector, more people who know about business, more people who know about business cases and how to put forward watertight business cases to secure funding for their constituencies. I celebrate the fact that I studied business studies at university because it trains your mind to understand commercial aspects.
It removes
So
emotion.
important for the job.
It removes emotion
Yes.
wholeheartedly. And I can. It now makes sense to understand.
But very few will come into politics because of the abuse that they get and vilification and all the rest of it. So
Wouldn't get paid enough.
Very counterintuitive because we're driving away. Well, we want the best people to come and work in the house.
So is this why you would have people like Lord Sugar when Alan Sugar was pulled in? Because you're never going to get him to work for you because he's obviously. I mean, that's a good case. But then he was made. Was he in a law?
Lords.
But was he not seen as like a consultant? Like, let's use it as just what it was. Would he have been an advisor to the government on business stuff, or how?
Well, I think Lord Sugar was a Labour peer, and he was appointed by the Labour government. And I think
He did do one good thing
At
there.
once time, he did advise on certain.
I believe he did. Yeah.
Business. But what you want is members of parliament like that. You want people to be incentivized to have a break in their careers, leave business.
That's quite a good
and into
idea.
politics.
Sabbatical from the world of commerce into. You might just. You heard that here first. That's a good idea.
And I'm
Who
always
do we put that to?
encouraging people to try to get involved in politics.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time. So Rwanda, that's a good way to finish the week. Angela Rayner, pint-sized loser. Wash your mouth out. Please stop being rude in front of the children. What else is new? What else is good? So you go into where are we going this afternoon? And this is the thing. So if you live in a hole, and or you just haven't been this interested to watch anything I'm putting out on this stuff, which is fine. Daniel's in Parliament Monday to Thursday, normally leaves on a Sunday night. And then as soon as he's back, Friday and Saturday is spent in the community. Not the Invisible Man, as we've been people tried to point out. Certainly not now. So what's this afternoon look like for you when you leave here?
Well, this afternoon, I think 2:00, I'm going to the Wakeman
Yep.
School on the English Bridge, where I'm going to be addressing students.
And what's the nature of that? Well, how's that come about? Why?
Well, one of the students there has wanted me to come and address them and to explain what I do and to take questions. So I've agreed to go there at 12:00. I've got an interview this afternoon on television, and then we are delivering our leaflets at 4:00, and then
It's still one of the things I just leaflet dropping. What are you doing at 2? What TV at 2?
Astley, we're at Astley Village Hall this afternoon, and then I'm meeting soldiers of Shropshire event at the castle this evening. So people who have been in the armed forces.
Fine. Who's that through the Covenant?
Yes.
Oh, we're just joining that. One of them other businesses. I'm just going through well, in fact, both, because Gaz and I are both vets, so we're...
And then Saturday campaigning in the morning.
Campaigning. Let's talk about campaigning.
Campaigning in the morning, and then we've got the Mayor's Charity Gala at the Shrewsbury Town Football Club on on Saturday evening. And then Sunday, I'm going to
Back
see
to London.
the MP for Ludlow.
Yeah.
In his constituency, because the other thing you have to remember is
Who's the MP for London?
Philip Dunn.
Yep.
You never operate in a silo. When it comes to Shropshire, what we do is we all come together and try to sing off the same hymn
Yep.
sheet. There isn't a cigarette paper between us.
I heard that line. You were in, what did we put? We posted something the other day where you were talking about the flooding project, and Philip was sat in front of you, I believe.
That's right.
If my memory serves me rightly.
Yes, you've got a very good memory.
So anyone that's watching it, you've known each other, I think, your entire time within... You've been
20 years. We've been neighbours for 20 years, and we work together Very, very closely, because of course, when you're going to the Treasury or when you're going to the Department of Health or the Department of Education, one MP does not have the same influence as 5 MPs who represent the whole of the constituency. So what we always try to do is negotiate with the other 4 MPs so that we can potentially try to fight for Shropshire collectively. Doesn't always happen because our county is more divided than most, artificially.
Yep.
Telford on one side, Shrewsbury on the other. So the health issue, Future Fit, has been very problematic. But when it comes to train services, when it comes to flooding issues, we all try to collaborate collectively.
Yeah, it's good.
So building a
Might have to
relationship
get
with other MPs is
Mr.
very
Dunn. There's the invite. See if Mr. Dunn would jump on and we can talk all things flooding. Well, that's a photo of you. That's a go. Just
starting to get very
that's
old.
a few years ago. That Daniel.
Yeah, I know.
That's a few years ago. That. So basically, work. What are some other interesting things that could be happening in and around politics?
Well, we've got the local council elections, which are on May the 2nd.
Right. Talk us through that, because this stuff's all new ground to me as well.
Well, local council, so councils around the United Kingdom.
So they all get who?
We don't have elections here.
Right.
There are elections in the rest.
Why not here?
Well, because it generally, you can't have elections. They generally tend to be every 3 to 4 years, and different parts of the country have their local elections at different times.
Fine.
We had ours 3 years ago, but there's the mayoral elections in London.
Right.
Sadiq Khan,
Yeah.
the Labour mayor, versus Susan Hall, the
Yeah.
Conservative.
Where are you hedging your bets on that one? If you're a
Sadiq Khan
betting
is
man,
very unpopular. So I think the Conservative candidate has a chance. Ulez has gone down like a bucket of sick. Quite frankly, with residents in London.
yeah. So you think who's it? What'd you say?
Susan Hall.
Susan Hall. You think she's in with a chance?
Well, I think that I think she's going to give Sadiq Khan a run for his money.
I did see a small reel where he was about getting all this, the rally he was doing, trying to get a photo to send to Donald Trump on stage. He was. I was like, I'm not sure. I suppose for me it just echoes some of the real problems you see across the political landscape when you've got the stuff going on in America and then Sadiq Khan's on a stage trying to send a picture on social media to Donald Trump. You're like, I know social media is powerful, but stay in your lane. Just like there's certain things I would and wouldn't do.
Yes.
Being on a stage trying to
compete or take on the president of the United States.
Yeah, or
not in his job remit.
it's just ridiculous.
But the Teesside mayor is up for grabs, the West Midlands mayor is up for grabs, the London mayor is up for grabs, local councils are voting around the United Kingdom. So, this will be a test for all political parties in the run-up to the general election, which we expect later on.
Later, he moved that one well.
October or November of this year.
November?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's going to be November
some work to
rather
do.
than January next year. Because that's
everyone-
the last time that it could technically be under the...
Is the latest.
The latest it could be is January of next year, but we hope it's going to be before then.
Just stick Penny in. I do like to be probing. Look, as always, absolutely fantastic to have you on. I think, look, summarising from this, I think, if you could put some of the detail on that education, that's interesting. So
Yes.
let's kick next session off with some stats and let's dig into the detail.
I will bring those with me.
God, helpful that the Conservative Party have really driven some numbers on that one. Good. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please put any questions and comments and stuff in the comments. If it's negative, don't bother because I'll just delete it. Daniel?
Oh, no, we have to see the negative.
Yeah, we do. See, I'll be held to account on that. But thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.